Welcome, Sonia.
Thank
So
you.
you're now live. If you'd like to share your screen presentation, stick around to make sure it's all working and good to go. Perfect. Would you like to just advance the slide
Yep.
once, and we'll just make sure it runs perfectly. Yeah, I can see it. I can
It
see
works?
and yeah, perfectly fine. So, brilliant. So, I already introduced the session to some extent on the back end of the last session, but just to remind everyone, this is a technology demonstration. So it'll feature Sonia Wolf, who is Senior Director of Enterprise Sales for Readcube Papers. And what they're going to do is talk you through their solution, a little bit about their organization, what they do. I guess ultimately what I would say is that this organization is the sponsor of the event. They're here to provide opportunities and solutions to solve some of the problems that you face as an organization, as in an industry. So, listen to the session, but afterwards, I would encourage you to go drop by the exhibition booth. You can stop in, you can speak with Sonia and Miles, Sonia's colleague, and they'll be happy to provide you with any more information and insights into what they do. You can also pick up some papers. You can meet with them face to face as well. And obviously, we do have other exhibitors and sponsors as well that we would encourage you to meet with on the networking break. But on that note, I'm eating into to Sonia's time here, so I will hand over. I will leave you to it, and I will see everyone after the session. Good luck. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark. So yes, good morning, everyone, or afternoon. My name is Sonia Wolf, and as Mark said, I'm a Senior Director of Enterprise Sales at Readcube Papers. I am joined with my colleague, Miles McNamee, who is the Senior Vice President of Enterprise Sales at Papers. And if you all don't know, Papers is a literature management solution. And so, as my screen says, we try to simplify the way the world works with scholarly literature. And just to give you a little background, I think before I was a part of the Readcube team, I really started my career in the lab. And throughout the rest of my career have been working in life science in some capacity. And so, and that's actually a background that most of us at Readcube share. And I think that has given us a unique approach at literature management, having been on both sides of the table. And so over the course of the next few minutes, I'll be discussing some of the challenges that research teams face when it comes to working with literature, and how our platform, Papers Enterprise, has evolved to help those teams of all shapes and sizes really work more collaboratively and effectively to get the research they need and to get on with their own discoveries. And so I do have slides today. Personally, I do prefer seeing things in real time and having to endure a lot of slides. But I was told we only have about 10 minutes. And so I thought that some slides would actually work a little bit better. And within those slides, I have prepared some specific ones to show you our product and how we do what we do. First, though, I did want to talk about why keeping up with literature is such a battle and such a struggle. So everyone knows that literature is at the core of discovery, and you can't discover something new without knowing what came before it. You have to improve on that idea and ensure it's better. And you need to understand all of that to really avoid costly blind spots that can extend your timelines. It can extend your own research goals. And at a company level, it can have a really big impact on your bottom line. And in terms of accessing important literature, it's not an occasional event. While how we do it differs from the different business units, whether you are in R&D or medical affairs or regulatory, literature still plays a key role in all of those members contributing to the success of your business. And so really what makes literature and working with literature so difficult the number one challenge is the sheer volume of content. And so as you can see on the left-hand side here, according to data that I pulled actually just last night from one of our sister companies, Dimensions, 6.5 million papers were published in 2021. That's almost 20,000 papers a day. And you can see that every year this number has been growing. And as mentioned, while different business units within an organization may interact with literature differently as part of their roles, an example that came from that's come from research and development is that R&D folks are spending at least 5 hours a week reading content. And that stat has actually been holding steady for the past few years. Some things that have been changing are the times increased in other activities when it comes to reading content or working with literature. And one stat that has actually increased has been the time spent sort of scouring the databases and websites for new literature and literature that is relevant. And that has actually doubled from about 2 hours per week to 4 hours. And I think if we look at the data from the past sort of 9 years that I've compiled on the left here, that is only going to increase. It is increasing. The volume is increasing. And so it will continue to do so over time. And so we need to think about how we're going to make working with literature more efficient. And so, unfortunately, volume isn't the only issue. And so I did bring, just put together a few others that I thought were relevant to this conversation. We are seeing an increase in concerns about reproducibility, about trust in the data. And this is causing users to have to dig deep into things like supplemental data, seeking similar findings from other authors, relying on article metrics, and all of these additional steps are just taking a lot more time because the user must manually then go and find those elements themselves. Another common thing that we've seen is that no matter what your role is, you develop a workflow that works for you as an individual, and you kind of hone it over time. And while that's really great and it may work for the time being, if you take a step back and you look at a group of 5 or a group of 50 or even 500 users, it gets a little chaotic, it gets hairy. And it gets that way because then the data is living all over the place, right? And so it creates a barrier to collaborate with colleagues due to things like interoperability issues, security concerns, maybe compliance concerns. And then sort of lastly, to talk about, to sort of finish this slide off here, as full text access is another significant issue no matter what size you are. So whether you're a small company and you're hitting paywalls all the time, or you're a medium to larger size and maybe you have a hybrid solution in place with like some subscriptions and some other ways of accessing content, perhaps you're still purchasing some content, you need to be able to find the right path that works for you so that you can readily access the full text. And so a lot of these challenges can be chaotic, and a lot of them are invisible costs that we just don't even really think about or even track for that matter. And so really that brings me to our next slide before I get into some of the more feature specific ones, but to talk about our solution and why it's really invaluable to have a literature management solution in place. And at Papers, we're committed to building a dynamic platform that does adapt to the challenges around literature, some of the challenges that obviously I've just spoke about. And so as I get into the next slides and actually show you some of the app itself and the platform, I wanted to just speak about a really important part of the Papers platform, and that's usability and user experience. And kind of going back to our background in, coming from a research organization, coming from us being researchers ourselves, we didn't just set out to dump a bunch of features into a platform and say that was it. We really set out to, and are really known for now, our intuitive nature and providing a flexible way in which we do connect all of those features to the essential steps in your research cycles. In addition to providing tons and tons of data alongside those, let's say, articles. And so we're trying to ensure that your research library is as dynamic as your research is as well. And so with that, I don't actually know how I am on time. I forgot to start my timer here, but hopefully I'm not going too fast for everyone. But of course, I think this is where most folks appreciate sort of the next few slides that I'll go over, because this way, at least you get to see some of the, I think, most important functionality. So I've taken out a few to describe things like how files, what happens when files come into the libraries, how we're organizing those, how you're being able to collaborate on those, and actually showing you some screenshots here. So let me describe what you're looking at. So the sort of the biggest one here is a nice layout of a papers library. On the left-hand side is your main navigation panel. Right, sort of in the middle is all the list of all the papers or the entries that you have. And then as you click on an entry, you get the information panel on the right-hand side and a preview as well. And so as you're perhaps dragging and dropping content in, maybe you have content on your computer or you're bringing it in from another reference manager, we will automatically identify all of that really juicy information that you want to see. So you're not stuck with obscure file names. You have titles for articles. There are authors are visible. The abstract is fully visible either here or within the preview. Citation counts, how those have changed over time, alt metrics and additional metrics. And we even go as far as to pull all of the supplemental data, and it's kind of hidden a little bit here, but we do automatically then pair supplemental data. So users or researchers aren't running around looking for it, right? And they're not, we're trying to collect all that additional information and connect all the relationships between the papers and the other research that's happening around it. Other things that maybe aren't on this page here are identifying similar papers, so related articles, flagging retractions, even going as far as to tell you how another author has actually cited the particular paper that you're looking at, and give a little snippet sort of below here so that you can understand the larger impact of that article. You can also import other things. So it's not only journal articles, but you can use this tool to your advantage. Again, for those other business units, you can import patents, posters, presentations, really any file type. And this allows users to collaborate and have content be more searchable and discoverable and really useful. Next thing I wanted to go over was search and accessing full text. How do you import it and do that really easily? And thanks to our browser extension, so you can see a common website, PubMed. Lots of researchers will come to PubMed initially to do initial search. And using our browser extension, we really have developed sort of these little buttons that show up under all the search results. They not only show up on PubMed, but really any website, any discovery website, any publisher page, really anywhere a researcher is going to discover content, we will be able to bring in the browser extension and 2 buttons here, which will change according to, and I'll get into it a little more in the next slide, but change according to sort of what's already in your library or the access types that you have. And so teams can continue to understand content that's already in their personal libraries or their private shared libraries, or if they need a link to access the full text, perhaps, if that's going through open access, subscribed content, or you're having to pay for it. And if you are having to purchase a PDF, so to be honest, not sure if you can see that by PDF, but if you have to do that, then allowing groups to have a tally on exactly what's been purchased, who's been buying the content, how much is being spent from a specific journal or a specific publisher. And so in that sense, we're also eliminating admin costs of reconciling charges, allowing for because we're identifying content that's already in your library, you're not downloading the same paper multiple times. We're also identifying subscriptions, so you're not having to go through multiple charges for things. And so if we get into the next one here, that kind of goes into a little bit further of, okay, what are the sort of some of the different options for identifying that full text. And so the first one here is identifying content that's already in a library. As you hover over those buttons, it tells you, okay, which library is it saved into even. The next option is open access or freely available content. And so again, as you hover over, the buttons are changing accordingly, and it's identifying its open access from a particular publisher. Or maybe maybe this paper is part of a subscription that the company already has to a specific publisher or journal, and it's identifying that then, and then having that communication as you hover over to the user that the PDF is instantly available through whichever company it is subscription to a journal. And the last sort of option that it goes through is the option to have purchase a paper. And again, it will then identify that through the document delivery communication there. And so the last thing I wanted to highlight in terms of sort of the product was tackling literature as a team. And I think this is part of the theme for today, is that how are you having those collaborative abilities? And so within a private shared library, your team can easily find and access the article in real time. You can keep projects together. So if you look over here, a shared library section where you can create private shared libraries. You can put rules on each library. You can have permissions on those libraries. So you can see here who has access, owner, read-only, member permissions. And that way you can keep your projects organized together. They can be collaborated on together. They can also be shared directly from the web. So again, from that browser extension, allowing you to identify which libraries the paper is actually in, and add or import into multiple locations at once. And so that can become a team effort when you're searching and going through the search and discovery process. Being able to annotate, as you see on the right here, having all those annotations be merged and author attributed, so you know exactly who is writing what, or highlighting, or circling. Multiple people can read and annotate at the same time, and those annotations are saved onto the copy from that library. And again, access is controlled through the library, so you know that it's a very secure option. And then the last way for collaboration or to tackle it as a team is really through citation writing. And so through our a citation tool that's called SmartCite, it allows you then to see all of the libraries as they show up in your application, and be able to select references from those shared libraries and collaborate on writing in that regard as well. Whoops. So some final thoughts for you guys. Really, I think to wrap up, and I think I may have actually gone over, I apologize, the central role literature plays in our respective organizations is not going to change. The challenges of working with literature isn't going to magically go away either. So I think if anyone's interested in looking into a second option per se, or literature management at all, then please stop by our booth and let us know. We do support teams of all shapes and sizes, and our platform was really designed to work for everyone. So I appreciate it very much. I apologize for going over. I realized that I probably have, and that was it. I thank you very much.
Hey, Sonia. So, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Perfect. So thank you very much for that session. It does appear that we have a question. We're happy to take it before we close it for the break.
Perfect.
I'll read it for you. So
Okay.
what all different literature sources scanned by this tool? Should they be official publications only? Can it collect data from websites, social media, and other unstructured content resources?
So our tool was built specifically for scholarly literature that is published. And so it really works best to collect all of the data surrounding an article, let's say. However, you do have the ability to import references from things like websites or really any other document type as well. So it doesn't have to be as structured. It just means that the metadata that we're bringing in may not be fully collected, and there may be opportunity then to manually curate some of that on your own. Whereas if it's a journal article, then we're doing that automatically. We're also doing that with patents. So those are really the two that we do it automatically for. But the tool was really built to allow for flexibility in any regard. So you can use it across sort of different business units and groups.
Perfect. Okay, so that brings we're slightly over, but that's fine. Brings our session to a close. So thank you very much, Sonia, and thank you very much, Miles. So just a note to the audience, we'll take a break now. Once again, I would encourage you to go and meet with Readcube and the other exhibitors. Quite simply, if you just look on the left-hand side of your screen, there should be various tabs. One is titled Booths. Click on Booths. You can then see the different exhibitors and sponsors that we've got for the event. Click on the exhibitor that you want to meet with. Pop in there. You'll be able to download different materials that are in there. You can watch recordings, videos, and of course meet directly with the team as well. So you can actually meet face-to-face and have a direct conversation like in this sort of format. And there's also the option to arrange to meet later on as well, so you can schedule a meeting at any time. So once again, thank you very much, Sonia. Thank you very much, Miles. And we'll take a short break, and I'll see you back in about 30 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.